You're listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM, here with myself, Skafy, Elliot, and producer Shell. And today we're going to be talking about the invention of teenagers in India who found a clever way to filter out microplastics from water. We're going to be looking at the scandal that is affecting KPMG, the big auditing firm, and that involves a major breach in trust. And look, they trade on trust. So we're going to be looking into that story. Ooh. Our interview is going to be with James Ponto, who has for many years been a literature evangelist. In other words, a person who knocked from door to door to sell Christian books. And he's going to be sharing some stories, some interesting experiences from his time doing that. And our Bible study later today will be about the prodigal son in the Gospel of Luke, one of the most loved parables of all times. That all just today, in our show today. Yeah. Plus, we're going to be reading your messages. Plus, we're going to be giving away amazing resources. Plus, we have the most amazing trivia, Bible trivia, in the world's history that producer Shell crafts every single day. So we have a great show lined up ahead of us. Speaking of trivia and quiz questions, producer Shell, what is next? The next one?
Well, this is my funnest one of the day.
Ooh, okay.
And this is my "Can I catch Skafy out?" question.
All right, let's play. I'm game.
No,
I think I'm toast then.
Actually, I don't know. Now that I don't know. Maybe I need to mix it up and not do that one.
Oh, no, do that one. Come on. Now you got me hyped up.
I feel like I kind of ruined it with my thingy. So I'm going to maybe switch that one.
Okay. Make it harder.
We'll have to do it a different time.
Yeah, add some Tabasco pepper.
All right, we're going to do a relatively easy one instead.
Okay, all right. Okay. Relatively easy one.
Which commandment says, if you follow it, you will have long days on the land God gives you? Which commandment says if you follow it, you will have long days on the land which God gives you? We know that one. Well done. 0491 064669. Which commandment says if you follow it, you will have long days on the land which God gives to you?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's the only commandment with a promise built in.
Yeah.
All of them have promises.
Yeah.
But they are not built in, explicitly laid out.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right, producer Shell. And before we get into your India story, can I just share with you some random facts from Oklahoma?
Okay, share them with me.
All right. So Oklahoma has the highest concentrations of tornadoes in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it's
state.
Tornado town.
Tornado country, you can even say. Tornado state.
Tornado central.
They have, Oklahoma as a state, the largest Native American population in the United States.
Well, its name obviously would be a draw card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The land of the red people.
Yeah.
And it is the only state that has a working oil well located inside of the grounds of the Capitol building.
Wow.
Yeah.
A working oil well inside
just the state or the world?
I think
yeah.
I think the world really. I mean
that's
so unique.
Oil well. And they have a few interesting inventions there. You know what was invented in Oklahoma?
What?
They invented a shopping cart in 1936.
Really?
Yeah, the very ones that you push around every week.
Wow.
They also invented the parking meter, so you can blame them for that one.
Oh, wow. Thanks, yes. Oklahoma.
In 1935, Oklahoma City was the pioneer in the parking meter.
Man.
And also the aerosol can also was created in Oklahoma. So
okay, that's probably a good
stuff
one.
that we all use.
Parking meter, though, that's why? Just why would you invent that?
I know.
Oh, man. Oh, parking meters are my enemy, man. I don't like them.
Particularly if you're in Sydney, man. Like some parking meters.
Dude, there's no free parking in Sydney at all.
Yeah.
I have to catch a train down every time if I want to go to Sydney. Because A, the traffic is a nightmare, and B, there's no place to park. So, yeah.
I know.
Oh, man. There you go.
All right,
Thanks,
so these
Oklahoma.
are some fun facts. Now, let's move on to fun facts moving to India.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got something that's actually interesting. I was reading this news article. It was talking about this thing called the Earth Prize. Have you ever heard of the Earth Prize?
No, I haven't.
I hadn't heard of the Earth Prize either. But turns out these three Indian students, 3 Indian teenagers, won the Earth Prize.
So this is a global prize?
It's a global prize.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a global,
So it's a big thing.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. They won the Earth Prize by discovering how they can use tamarind to remove microplastics
All right.
from water.
Have you ever had tamarind before?
I'm actually not sure if I have had it. I mean, I've had like Indian food before. Has there been tamarind in the food?
Yeah, I actually have had the fruit tamarind.
Right.
It looks like a tomato.
Ah, okay.
They call it tree tomatoes because it's grown in a tree as opposed to grow out of a herb.
Right.
And it looks like tomato. It kind of tastes like a tomato, but it's a bit sweeter and a bit tangier.
I feel like
yeah.
maybe somewhere I've had like a tamarind flavored sweet,
Yeah. Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like, if I would describe it, it's a cross between the taste. It's a cross between a tomato and an apricot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
yeah.
you can do like juices with it and so on. So
there you go.
Yeah. So tamarind.
So tamarind, they found that they actually developed this thing. They call it plastic, and that's spelled PLAS dash stick, because what they do is they use the tamarind seed as a base. They actually grind it up into a powder, and that, when you put it in water, you put that seed powder into water, shake up the water a bit, agitate it. The seed powder will actually form clumps together with microplastics.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Which is actually really incredible.
That's radical.
It naturally clumps together with microplastics, and then you can use, get this, a magnet, just a regular old magnet, to retrieve those clumps. And I was like, what? When I heard this, I thought, that's so cool. That's got to be one of like the cheapest filtration systems of being able to get rid of microplastics.
That is really
Now,
cool.
it didn't say exactly the percentage of microplastics that it takes out. It doesn't say it takes out 100% of them. But I can imagine that it takes out
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
And, hey, taking out some microplastics is better than leaving them in your water supply. That's what I reckon. So these guys, these 3 teenagers, were the first people. This is actually the first people from India to ever win this Earth Prize, which is pretty cool. That's a feat for India that they're the first ones. Like, this is the first time they've ever won this prize.
That is amazing.
And this is funny because I was like, well, what is the Earth Prize? The Earth Prize is run by the Earth Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that's based in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay. And this is interesting. I read this and it says it was founded from the school strike for climate change back in 2019. Now, I don't know what you were doing back in 2019, Skafy, but I was a year 12 high school student. So I remember very clearly the school strike for climate change. And the reason why I remember it so clearly was because it was one of the best school days I ever had. We went to like 2 periods in the morning, 2 classes. And then I was in my music class because I did music for my HSC. And there was an announcement that came over the loudspeaker. Anyone who's going to the school strike for climate change, now's the time to leave. And so we said to our teacher, well, hang on. So anyone can go to this school strike for climate change? And the teacher's like, if you want to leave, you can leave. So me and
I
my
have a day off.
Exactly. Me and my 2 mates thought, oh, sweet. So we just left school, caught a bus into the city because the school strike for climate change here in Newcastle was being held in Newcastle City, like
Bro,
where
I believe that you're a great Thunberg follower, mate.
Oh, no, I didn't give a rat's about the actual climate change strike. All I
Just
thought
wanted
was
the day
it was
off.
a free day off. So me and my friends, we took the day off. We went into the music store that was in Newcastle called Muso's Corner. It's in a different location now.
Shout
but
out,
Went to
Muso's
Muso's Corner, played all their guitars, played all their keyboards and basses and all the instruments that they had there. And then we got some food, went to the beach, had a swim. It was like the best day of school we ever had. So that's what I remember the school strike and
Wagging.
Well, it was a free invitation to. That
Thanks
was the
to
thing.
Greta Thunberg. This is
So
what lady was.
she was. As far as I'm concerned, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
Hey, I need to say something here because I have given a wrong information.
Okay.
You remember how I mentioned that tamarind looks like a tomato?
Yeah.
This is not tamarind. This is tamarillo.
Oh, okay. Different thing.
Similar name, but different fruit. The
Right.
actual tamarind, I was looking here, they look like they come in a pod. They look like a big peanut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
and
looking
the
at
seeds are
photos of
inside.
them.
Yeah, and you eat the flesh around them.
Right.
So different fruit, similar names, but very different fruit.
There you go. So anyway, back to the story of these three Indian teenagers. They have won this prize, and because like microplastics are actually, they're a big deal, and they are found. This is the crazy thing about microplastics that people are becoming more aware of, is that they're found literally everywhere on Earth.
Wow.
Literally everywhere, from the very peak of Mount Everest to the very bottom of the Mariana Trench. There is traces of microplastics everywhere. There's also traces of microplastics
Inside
us,
of our bodies,
in our
yeah.
organs, in our brains,
In our hair.
in our hair. They even found it in placentas, in sperm as well, which is like crazy, right? So they get everywhere because microplastics can range from being like the width of a human hair to being like 1/1000th the width of a human hair, which is tiny. Imagine
Because they
trying
never
to-
fully break down.
They
just,
never
keep
fully break
breaking
down.
just tinier and smaller.
into smaller and smaller pieces. Yeah, which is kind of crazy. So they can pass like your blood-brain barrier. That's how they get into the brain, and they can just get into your system, which is not good. So when it comes to rural areas where they don't have clean filtration or they don't have an easy filtration system, this is amazing because tamarind is a very easily grown plant, and they already use it for food and cuisine in like South Asian countries. So now they've realized, well, we could just use the plant, grind up the seeds, and put it in our water supplies, which is usually just like shared containers of water, and they can shake it up, use a magnet to pull it out, get rid of the microplastics, and then you've got cleaner water, which is so good. So that's some good news. If you're ever in a pickle and you've got tamarind and you need to filter microplastics, well, now you know,
You know
what
how
to
to do it now?
Yeah.
Wow. Look, it looks like some studies say that in terms of microplastics, we ingest about 5 grams of microplastic, roughly the weight of a credit card, every single week.
Whoa.
Sometimes just inhaling them from airborne particles.
That's
So over a lifetime, some people say that we can accumulate to 20 kilograms of plastic trapped or in or passing through your organs and tissues.
whoa.
So not only what it's accumulated, but like what you processed.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
That's a lot of microplastics.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We have an answer coming from producer Shell for that previous question. So, what was the answer to the question?
So the answer to that one was the 5th commandment, honor thy father and thy mother. That's the one that comes with the promise that your
Yeah.
days will be long upon the land that God gives you.
There you go. I just wrote honor mum and dad because
Yeah.
I couldn't write out the whole
That's
thing
right.
as quickly as Skafy could.
Fifth
be
commandment. I
typing.
just like the 5th.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, let's move on then to one big news that a lot of people are talking about today. Have you heard about the auditing firm named KPMG?
I can't say that I have.
Look, if you're probably you haven't, but look, if you're into the financial world, or if you're into, for example, investing in public companies' shares and so on, this name is no stranger to you because KPMG is one of the world's largest auditing firms. So what they do is that usually companies, big companies in particular, they hire these really reputable firms to audit their internal accounting and then to release a often public accounting statements to the public.
Okay.
So you know how much, like, what were your earnings, what is in your balance sheet. This is to improve transparency, so you know what's in
Right.
the books. And because if a company releases their own made tax and accounting documents, you can always be scratching your head and saying, are they telling the truth
Yeah.
or not? But then if they have someone like KPMG or which was one of, they call the Big Four, there's always like Deloitte and PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst and Young is the other one.
Okay.
So these are the ones that are taken as the most reputable in the world.
Right.
And basically, like if KPMG is signing your financial report, it's because it's true. It's because they're they have reviewed, they're tough, they make sure that you are complying to all the legislation regarding how you account things, you're not cooking the books. It's a big deal.
Yeah, so it validates the authenticity of what you're saying.
So as you can imagine, basically they trade on their integrity.
Yeah.
There has been some scandals. There's one big scandal involving KPMG in the United States in the early 2000s, where they have found that they were helping clients to create kind of fake tax losses so that they could save taxes. And that was like, they estimate that they helped to dodge between $2.5 to $11 billion in taxes. So that was a big scandal back in 2007.
Whoa.
But look, when they had these scandals, they say, I'm sorry. They try to, make up for it in some way. They pay some millionaire fines and they kind of move on because they have global reach. They have global presence. And the reality is the markets, they're kind of very used to and accustomed to seeing the word KPMG and associating that with credibility and trust.
Right.
When I used to work with investment banking before, for example, we would only lease to companies that had their balance sheet and financial reports audited by a big four company in some cases. And if they say, look, I have like these, neighborhood accountant that's helping us, and we say, not good enough.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he's your mate.
Yeah.
However, KPMG is in a big crisis here in Australia.
Uh-oh.
Because 2 years ago, there's a whistleblower that said that KPMG was using confidential information from one client and revealing that information to potential future clients so that they could win their auditing sales pitch.
Wow, okay.
And the client that is affected by that is a big company called Lend-Lease, which is like a real estate incorporation, massive company, like over 8,000 employees. They're listed in the ASX.
Okay.
And apparently KPMG used screenshots or photographs, pictures of internal board documents from Lend-Lease in their sales pitch presentations to win other clients such as Westpac and other companies.
Interesting.
And look, at a time when the whistleblower looked at that and said, hey, guys, we shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. We shouldn't be. Apparently, initially, it was dismissed by the leadership in KPMG saying, it's not a big deal. It's not that they were releasing confidential from what we can understand from the report. It's not that they were releasing like confidential financial information.
Yeah.
But they were, because they wanted to win multi-million-dollar contracts with auditing, what it looks like, and they haven't been really much information about the exact nature of those breaches, but from what I could understand by reading about the subject, they would get like internal documents from the Lend-Lease board saying why they chose KPMG to be their audit partners instead of any other companies. And KPMG must have found that very flattering, saying, hey, look at what these boards is saying about us. This is why they have been choosing us for over 60. They have almost like a 60-year relationship with KPMG.
Wow. That's a long time.
And they were sharing that with, they had a couple of slides with those photos, sharing that with prospective clients to say, look, this is what the boards of the companies that hire us say about us. It's not bad.
Yeah. There you go.
But then when that information became public, there was a massive backlash because particularly for Lend-Lease, they're saying, hey, wait a minute, are you sharing our confidential board information?
Yeah.
That it's not clear at this stage if that board information was even supposed to be in the possession of KPMG.
Oh, really?
Sometimes when you are giving access to these big companies, you're kind of giving full access to a lot of your system.
Yeah.
A lot of your accounts. And sometimes it's possible that, some folders are there that they're not supposed to, but at the same time, you don't really think that the auditors will do anything with it.
Yeah.
But they accessed those data that had really nothing to do with their job and used it as the sales pitch to win contracts. And now what happened is that there's a massive firestorm coming towards them. Their CEO has resigned. I think that more than one, from my understanding. There's more officers from KPMG here in Australia that are like high-ranking officers that are going to be resigning over that crisis.
Wow.
And they lost the contract with Lend-Lease, which was like a multi-million-dollar contract.
man.
And I think that a lot of people are saying, I don't really know if I can trust you anymore.
Yeah.
Because you'll be, you might be getting out my information and leaking it to other companies. And at first, KPMG dismissed us. Look, we're not sharing anything sensitive. It's just like low sensitivity. It's just like nothing really big deal.
Yeah.
But for Lend-Lease, it was a big deal. It was like, hey, this was my private information. And you're just like exposing it to make money. So that's the crisis.
Dang, that is problematic.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have a friend and then because they want to get, have something nice to share with another friend, they start sharing little things about you, which are not particularly dark secrets or anything.
Yeah.
But things that say, hey, this is like, you don't really have any business sharing my stuff with people. And this is what it leads us to the Bible. The Bible has something to say about that. In Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 13, it says, he who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy conceals a matter.
Yeah.
So if you want to build like a trustworthy relationship with people, secrecy or confidentiality, it actually plays a big role.
Yeah. Actually it does. Like definitely. Because you know how some people, I don't know if you found this, but I know I've found sometimes within friends and whatnot, you'll have people that you go, oh, don't say that to so-and-so because like they've got a leaky mouth or whatever. Like they'll just go and tell everyone.
Yeah.
But then there's other people that it's like, oh, you can tell this person all your deepest secrets and you know that it's not going anywhere. It's like a safe, like a vault. And I think, it's really fascinating because that's something that's very easy. People will be able to determine that quite quickly, like whether someone is able to keep secrets or not. And that's an important thing, I think, with like building the trust of a relationship, especially if you can keep secrets or you can't.
And I'll tell you like one place where secrets are often leaked and they shouldn't. Church prayer meetings.
Ooh.
Sometimes it comes up like, hey, I'm concerned about so-and-so. This is what they're doing. But hey, have you asked if you're allowed to share that information first? So sometimes, let me just say this. A lot of people got hurt by the church because they had matters that they confided to someone. And all of a sudden, that confidential matter ended up becoming the prayer matter for the whole church. And everybody's asking about it. They didn't really want to. So before you go about doing that, I think it's a good practice to say, hey, would you like me to share that in the church prayer meeting?
Yeah.
And if they say no, or you can say, look, I can share it just in a generic way. I can say, hey, we just want to pray with so-and-so. Like they ask for prayers. They're going through a personal challenge, for example, or you can say something like that. And we just want to pray for that.
Yeah.
They don't want the matter to be disclosed, but God knows what it is. We're going to be praying for them. They ask for prayers. And that it's much better than to have, hey, because a lot of times Christians, they gossip. And that gossip comes in the form of, oh, I'm really concerned. It takes the shape of a concern. I'm really concerned about so-and-so because they're doing this, and that.
Yeah.
And man, when I hear these things, I cringe and I say, hey, have you talked about that person first? Do you have permission to share those things?
Yeah.
If not, go back, talk to the person, then we talk to me. Because I have seen so many relationships damaged by just that.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Today's interview is with James Ponto. He's going to be sharing with us a little bit of his experience knocking on doors, selling books to people that he has never met before in very unfamiliar neighborhoods. By stepping out in faith in this way, we will find out what were the lessons that he learned from God and what were the things that he has seen that built up his faith. James, thank you so much for coming. Tell us first about that idea. What is literature evangelism and how did you get involved with just knocking on random people's doors and offering them spiritual books?
Thanks for having me. Literature ministry is a form of ministry where we're actually sharing God through books. And so you don't have to know everything, you don't have to know every answer in the world, but the books really basically cover many questions that people would have. And so when we're sharing these books, we're just connecting with people. We're connecting with people, we're finding their needs, and what we're trying to do is we're just sharing a book that will actually speak into a certain aspect of their life.
I mean, I think it would be very difficult. You're selling books about God, which a lot of people that you knock on the doors, they're not necessarily interested on, right? So how would you even start the conversation at the door?
So I'm involved with Youth Rush, which is a program all over Australia. And in the school holidays, youth go out and we do a bit of training. And so we train up. And when I said it's easy in the sense of it's easy to just go and do. You don't need amazing skills or qualifications. You don't need to study for 10 years to do. You can just go out and do it. But it is hard. It's definitely hard because there's a lot of trials you come along on the way. And when you partner with God, God shows you how to improve. And it's easy to start, and there's definitely difficulties that come along. But in the long run, when you've got God with you and He's helping you along the way, you can push through those difficulties. And so what we do is we train the young people up and we give them a little script. We give them something that you can say about each book. And I remember the first time that I went out, I memorized.
So are these books about the Bible normally, or about God? What are they about?
Yeah, so there's some on God, but mostly we're trying to improve so 3 aspects: people's physical health, people's emotional health, and people's spiritual health.
Okay.
And so usually we lead with a health book, and then one about emotional health as well, and then we get into the spiritual topic. And so there's something for everyone. If they're not ready to talk about spiritual things, then we can open the door through emotional health or maybe physical health. Yeah, how to improve your health.
Yeah.
Because what God wants to do is restore us into His image. And there's so many people that are struggling with mental illnesses. There's so many people in the world that are struggling physical illnesses as well. That there are many that are preventable. Now, not everything's preventable, but there are many illnesses that their lifestyle illnesses that are preventable. And so we know that God wants to heal us not just spiritually. He doesn't want us to just profess something, but He wants us to live the fullest life that we can. And so if people aren't ready for that spiritual, we still want to share with them something that is going to bless their life.
What were some of the highlights for you? Were there things that God taught you during that process, valuable lessons, or maybe even miracles that you have seen in your career as a literature evangelist?
Yeah, well, I think when I first started, I did the training. I went through the training and I was super confident in the training. But then when they told me I had to go out, I was freaking out. And I remember for the whole hour of lunch before we went out, I was praying in my head and I was like, God help me, God help me, God help me. Those are the only 3 words that were in my head on repeat for an hour. And I remember I got to the first door and I just went through my spiel and I got to the end and the guy said, oh yeah, I like these 3 books. And so he buys the books. And I was freaking out as
so your first door, the person bought all the books that you have to sell.
Well, I had 5 books, but he took 3 of them.
Wow.
And I just thought that was incredible. I thought I'd be going for hours. Yeah, I thought I'd be going for hours. And then the next door, I was still panicking again, right? So I had that relief. It's almost as if God said, I'm with you, but I was still freaking out again. So I walked to the next door and I knock on the door and I go through the whole thing and she wants 2 books as well. And I thought, oh, wow, this is actually so different to what I was expecting. Yeah. Very interesting time in my life where God actually led me into literature ministry and He led me to that program, I really believe. I was really, really scared. And I kept telling God that I was really, really scared. I really needed His help. And yet outwardly, when opportunities were presented to me, I spoke in faith. And I think that as I did that, I partnered with God. I just said, God, I need your help every step of the way. And as I partnered in faith, He really helped me. And He really helped me on. And that was my first time. And I think I've done about 10 Youth Rush programs since. And there's been plenty of opportunities where as you talk to people, you learn how to communicate with people better. And you learn how to connect with people on a real level. And so you're not just there as a salesman. You want to improve people's life. And you see some of the hardships that people are going through. And you meet people and there can be people where you're looking at their face, you're just going through what you're supposed to say, and you don't feel like you're making a connection with people. And then you'll get to the end and you'll say, which books interest you the most? And out of nowhere, they'll just say, this spiritual one, I really need this in my life. And
wow.
That's not a one-off. That happens quite frequently. I remember there was a day when I was in Cairns in North Queensland. I knock on this lady's door and she's really interested in the books. She says, wow, this is incredible. I love spiritual things. I was praying to God, God, I'm bored. I want a book to read. I want a spiritual book to read. I got nothing to do. And she's like, and you came and brought these spiritual books. And then she goes, and just before my daughter left to go to university today, she said to me, hey, Mum, by the way, a man's coming to deliver spiritual books today. And no one else had come except me. And so I found out a little bit of the backstory was they must have ordered some books online and she got a notification on her phone that morning and told her mum.
Maybe she had a prophetic insight, I think. The Holy Spirit was talking to her.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the big challenges there? Because you're doing there a work for God. You're trying to make people's lives better. Surely Satan is not wanting for you to do that for free. And surely there will be some way that he will be trying to discourage you. Did that happen?
I think that there's been attacks from Satan literally every program that I've been on. I've done 10 programs. I think there's been attacks every program. Satan really will attack you based on your fears, your insecurities. Plenty of these programs I've found that I myself, and I can't speak for everyone, but I know that I myself have had 1 or 2 sleepless nights. Or there's been something that's been slowly creeping in the back of your head that just gets magnified as you're trying to do work for God.
And what are the kind of things that Satan would attack on? Like in your own experience, what were the things that you felt most attacked on, and how did you overcome those things?
I think maybe a lot of insecurities around people's perception of me and how other people viewed me, really the praise or the pleasure of other people. Those things have been magnified, I think, by Satan and twisted. And so I feel that I know that I've viewed things differently, and I come out of the situation and I think I'm not thinking rationally about something. And I know that it's an attack of the devil. And so there's been times where I've had feelings of abandonment and feelings of loneliness that have been magnified when I'm trying to do work for God. And that's hard to deal with in the moment. But I know that the things that have helped me is, number one is praising God, especially through song, and just memorizing His word. And
was there any particular Bible passage or promise you cling to that you felt that were really speaking to you?
I know it's different every time, and it's more so based on what I've been reading lately in the Bible. But one of my favorite is Hebrews 13, verse 5 and 6, which says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I remember there was a day where I got out of the car, and I remember I stood and I was with my team leader, and he just asked me what I wanted prayer for. And I actually didn't answer him, which is, I'm not usually that rude, but I was really having a bad day.
Yeah.
And I got out of the car, and I remember I'm standing on the side of the street, and I just thought to myself, and I said a prayer, and I just said, God, I really don't want to be here. And I don't know. I was going through some of my own personal stuff at the time, and Satan was really magnifying that in my mind. And I said, God, I really don't feel worthy to be here, and I really don't feel that I should be here. I'm doing this for you, and I just don't know that I want to be here. I said, please help me, encourage me. And I go knock on the first door, and the first person, the lady comes to the door, and she's actually interested in the book, The Great Controversy. And she buys it, and then she says to me, can I pray for you that God would encourage you to do this work?
Wow.
And we said a prayer. I just couldn't believe that. I just prayed to God. I said, God, can you please encourage me?
Wow. And this random person, the first one of the day, said to you, hey, let me pray for your encouragement. Wow.
Yeah. And so she prays for me.
Incredible.
Yeah, so she prays for me, and then the next few experiences that I had were actually really good. And about an hour later, I'd cheered up, and I was actually really enjoying it. And that's the thing, I think Satan really attacks you at the start because he knows that there's blessings that are going to be there.
100%.
And I met this lady. By the time I'd cheered up, I'd met this lady, and she was telling me some of the things she was really struggling with, and it was really a divine appointment. But at the end, I remember that she said to me, why are you out here on such a hot day? And I said to her, I said, I said, to be honest with you, I don't always feel like coming out every day. But I said, the reason I keep coming back out is because I know that there's people out here that need this. And I know that God's got blessings out here. And so that's why I don't give up.
Amazing. James, I want you to share with us a little bit about what are the main lessons or blessings. You shared some of them, but like, how would you summarize the blessings you have received from God through your experience in Youth Rush, and how can perhaps a young person, or maybe not so young person, but a young person at heart, how can people be a part of that? Is it open to everyone, or is that an age limit to participate in that kind of program?
So Youth Rush itself is run from 15 to 30-year-olds. But literature ministry is not limited to that age. And so it's a program that we usually run on school holidays, and we get the young people, and we just want to encourage one another. Because it's great to go out. You go out 2 by 2, as Jesus said, and you go out with friends, we're singing together, we're praying together, we're eating meals together. It's really a really encouraging program. And so we just run those on school holidays. And so if you're a young person around 14 to 30, 15 to 30, there's plenty of programs that are run all over Australia. You can, if you Google search Youth Rush Literature Ministry, you'll find that. And so there's lots of programs that are happening, but it's not just limited to that. And so people of all ages in all kind of walks of life can do literature ministry. And I remember when I myself was doing another job, I remember that I was just going for a run. I was still a literature evangelist. And so I had a box of books in my car. And I remember a few days before, I wanted to give a great controversy to someone, but I looked in the back of my car and it wasn't there. And so this book wasn't there. I searched all through the box and it wasn't there. But 2 days later, I run into this guy and we start chatting about things in this book. And I was like, God, I wish I had that book in my car. I wish he just placed it there or something. Anyway, I thought, I better offer him something else. And as I look in the box, right in the middle, in front of my eyes, that book was there. And I hadn't restocked the box.
Just appeared there.
And
amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. It blew my mind, and I was just, wow. It was as if either God blinded my eyes the other day or put a book there through an angel. And so you can be doing any job. You don't have to just do a program, one of these Youth Rush programs. You can be doing a normal job. You could be a tradie. You could be a businessman. God will always open up doors to share His word.
That's amazing. And if you're interested in knowing more about literature evangelism, about Youth Rush, or about how to get involved, if you want to connect with James, let us know here, 0491 064 669. Send us a message and we will connect you with him. We can give you more information. And if you're interested in that book that James was talking about, The Great Controversy, how would you summarize the book Great Controversy? What is it about in like 10 seconds, James?
Prophecy, hope, and final redemption and salvation.
All right. So if you like to learn more about what are the prophecies, hope, and the final redemption of this world, to the book The Great Controversy, we can actually give you a copy for free today. 0491 064 669, #controversy, and we will send that book to you again. #controversy, text that hashtag to 0491 064 669, and we will find a way to mail that out to you. James, thank you so much for coming today. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and particularly about your some incredible stories that God gave to you as you were door knocking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, James.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.